guys, today is the first video of my new monthly series called Stamp It Sunday. Each month I'm going to take a stamped image and focus on the colouring of that image using different mediums and just the general process of how I go about colouring. I've had a lot of requests about colouring and stamping, so I thought it would be really fun to do this monthly series. Okay, so today we are actually using a digi image, and this is from Redonkadoodles Designs, and I will put the link down below so that if you want to colour along or you just like this design, then you can go along to the website and purchase this. And I just thought it was a really fun image. I thought it had a lot of character, and I thought it'd be fun for us to colour that. So I would say this is about 4.5, probably 5 inches tall by maybe 3 inches wide. So it's a nice size to work on. Okay, so the first thing I want to say before we start colouring is that I think there's a lot of talk about working out where the light's coming from, etc. And that's great, and I think it looks fabulous and it works for these people. I personally don't bother about that. You know, for the purposes of what we're doing, we can get a really fabulous results without making it more complicated than it needs to be. The other thing that is often discussed is colouring, whether you colour with your alcohol markers from dark to light colours or light to dark. And again, it's not something I worry about. It's making it more complicated than it needs to be. There's no right or wrong. Do what feels right for you. I sometimes work light to dark, sometimes dark to light. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to start off with is colouring her skin. I always start by colouring the skin. I'm going to start on this occasion with my pale colour, and we're going to lay down a base of this pale skin white. Now, you don't want to do too much. You don't want to do the whole lot in one go. You want to do a section because you want the alcohol markers to stay wet so that you can blend. So it's important not to do so much that they dry off, because otherwise then you can't blend. So taking our E00 skin white, we're going to colour in all of her face. So just starting up the top here. And don't worry about the lines and things. You can do circles and things if you want, so you feel more comfortable, little circles. But this is just our base layer, so just making sure that we're not colouring anything we don't want to colour. There we go. And then leave the pen lid off so that you're ready to grab the pen for your blending. It's all ready to go. So then I'm going to go to my dark colour, and I'm actually going to go to the one down from the very darkest because I'm not sure 100% that I want my very darkest colour. So I'm going to be using E13, and we're going to go up round her hairline, because that would be a darker area, and under here, around here, like so. Okay, and again leaving the lid off, and then I'm going to take my next colour down, which is E11, and going over the same area again, but then slightly coming out from that. And again, don't worry that the lines look strange. And then we're going to go back to our pale colour and just blend that in just by colouring over it again. And the centre of the face is always the palest because that's where the nose is and it's sticking out, you know, it's further forward so that it catches the light, so that would be the palest area. So you can see already just very easily we've blended that in. Now I'm tempted, as I say, to use this darker colour, so I'm going to be very careful and just put a small amount in here. And then I'm going to take my next colour down. That was E15, this is E13. So you can see we start off pale and then we and sometimes it looks really strange until you start blending. And then E11. Oops, just went over her eyebrows. That doesn't really matter because we're going to colour it in darker. But if it was an area that you weren't happy that the colour was on there, then just blend that in with your blender pen. And then going over the whole lot with our palest colour, E00. And there we go. And it's amazing how much difference it makes when you suddenly blend it through. It really makes a huge amount of difference. So that's her face done. So now we're going to work down onto her neck. Now this time, because I'm happy with the colouring, and this thing, because I wasn't sure about the darker colour, I didn't want to start with that. So I started with the pale, but now I'm fairly comfortable with that, and I'm happy that it's the colour I want. I'm going to go straight in with my E15 under her neck here. And then the E13. And just watch the little beads on the necklace. And we want to go in here. She'd be darker in that area on her little boobies. Okay, and we're not doing the arms yet, we're only going in that centre area. So, and then we want to take the next pale colour, which is E11, and then our palest colour, E00. We're just working a bit more there because I wasn't happy. I thought the dark had come down a little bit too far, so I just pulled that up. Okay, and then I want to put just a little bit more dark around this edge here because it would be a bit dark around by where her straps are. There we go. So happy with that. And of course, as it dries, it's going to dry paler as well. Okay, and then on her arms, so we're going to start on this arm here. So just in here will be darker, and here. And you can see I'm not doing the whole area, I'm just leaving a little bit of a gap, and that gives us a chance to blend that in. It's going to be dark around here. It's also going to be dark there and on this side of her arm, because it's likely that this side will be paler because there will be, it's more likely to be out in the light, that side. And then we've got the centre of her hand and then the underside of her fingers. And you can see where you need to put the dark on there because the stamp tells us. Okay, and then we're going to take the next dark colour, which is E13. And don't always worry if it looks really dark, because the when you blend the pale over, it really does take it down. I always think it looks such a mess until you finish. And then lastly, our very pale colour. we just went outside the line a little on the fingers, so we're just gonna get our blender pen, and also on her strap here, so just get the blender pen and run along, and that'll just clean that up, and up here on the finger as well. There we go. And then the last thing I want to do on the skin is just add some of the R20 to her cheek. There we go, and then just taking the E00, you can just use that to soften those edges if you need to. There we go. Okay, so here's the skin all finished. I've let it dry for about 5–10 minutes. Normally you could carry on with another section, because I don't like with the alcohol inks to colour the section next door, immediately next door, until the section you've just coloured has dried. Safer, because what happens otherwise is, because this ink's wet and then that ink's wet, it can kind of mush together, so it's better just to let it completely dry. But even now, to be safe, I'm going to work on the dress rather than the hair, because obviously the hair is completely around the flat skin, so we're going to allow that to dry even longer. And you can see now how it's settled down, that she's looking sort of nice and tanned. So let's now do her dress. And the colours that we've got for that are 3 greens from Pro Marker, and we've got Lime Zest, Lime Green and Bright Green, and these are one of my favourite greens. I really like these, they're really nice colours. So we're going to start off with our darker colour. Now we're just doing the dress, we're not doing the little bodice part here. Now the darker section is going to be around these creases and around her neck, under her bust line here, and around the bottom part of the skirt where you can see there's some folds. We're going to work on this area first. We're going to work on this top area first and then move our way down, because again we don't want to do all the dark, because it will then dry before we get a chance to blend it. So let's work on this bit here. So just flicking down, and it doesn't matter if you get all of the part at the top, because we're going to go back with another colour. So just flicking that down, and then along here just a flicking and round there. Carefully around the edges, because you don't want to go over the line, like so. Then get our next green, and we're using the bullet point on this. You've got the chisel marker, but I think this is better. Now going back up to the top, and then just filling in any little gaps that we missed, and then just carefully flicking it down so it blends with our green that's already on there. Up here, and it's very slightly changing the colour of our green as well, which is great. And then going to our Lime Zest, we don't need to go up the top part now, because that's done. So we're just gonna little circles, and then go back with our darker green just to highlight, because where it blends sometimes it softens it almost too much, so you want to just go back round. Like so. And then we're going to move further down, so we're going to go to this part here, so it would be dark kind of around her belt, because that would create a little shadow. So we're just going to go to the top of the belt at the moment, and then where her waist is here, she would have a darker section. Just going to pull that through and there. And then just taking our next darkest green, which is our Lime Green, And then finally our lime zest. And I'm just going over the edges of the previous colour, and that just blends it in. You can go over the whole lot, but that will soften it quite a lot. And I think that looks quite nice. Don't think we need to add any more to that one, like we did on the previous part. So now let's do inside the belt. So that's going to be darker. Forget these bits in here. So we're going to just do So we're not going to need our lime zest for this because it will be darker in there because of the shadowing of the belt. So we're just going to there we go. And then again, we're just going to use the darker green, which is our bright green. And then we're going to go over where the stamp naturally gives us the area that needs to be darker with our creases. And then along the bottom of the belt here. Some little flicks along that edge, and then with our next green, just blending it through. And as we're coming further down where the dress is going to finish, we change from, we're following the angle of her hip with our strokes because that naturally puts in some shade, the shading. So as we're here, that's going down, and then as we come, we're slightly turning, so we're going more straight. And by the time we get to the bottom, it's completely straight. And then finally our lime. Okay, and that just looks so pretty. I think the colour's gorgeous. Okay, so that's our dress done. Now I think it would be nice to give her green eyes of the same colouring, so we're just going to go up to the eyes. So I'm going to use my dark green, which is the bright green, in the corners of her eyes, just up here and here, just a small amount. And then I'm going to take my lime green and follow that down, and then my lime zest to just where using the white that they've put in place for us as the guide as where you want the lightest part to be. So then again on the other eye, my jelly roll pen, and I'm just going to go in the little dot that they've put and put a white dot like that. There we go. To do her bracelet, so I'm just going to do that in the lime green. I'm going to leave the dots because I'm going to come back to those. So I'm going to use the three colours again. We're going to start with the darkest. And just put that here, and then on the inside. And And we don't want to blend there because that's the inside, so we don't want that to blend. And then we're going to put our lime zest around there, which I think looks really cool. And then we're going to go leave that one blank as it is, and we'll do that one later with something else. So I think that looks really cool. And then we're going to put the lime green on the little beads of her necklace. What I've done there is I've just put my white jelly pen over the dots that I just greened, and that's just giving it something up. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is her hair, and what I wanted to do is something a bit more fun. I didn't want to do the regular colours for hair like brown or something, so what I've gone for is these gorgeous kind of plummy colours. So we've got two from the R family, so we've got R59, which is cardinal, R56, which is currant, and then this one actually goes with it, even though it's an E, it does work together really nicely, and that's E04, and that's Lipstick Natural. And then I picked up a slightly more plummy colour just to give it a bit of lift, and that's RV69. And then this one, which I probably won't use, but it may help, is RV000, which is part of the same family as this one, but it would just might work as a pale base for some of the really light areas. So I thought that would be useful. I tend to find I use about 5 colours, 4 or 5 colours for hair. I tend to go for more than the 3, but you could easily use the 3 if you prefer. Okay, so we're going to start off with our dark plum colour, which is RV69. And you can do hair several ways. You can blend it in, so you do like we've done here on the green, and blend it through, or you can do it more flicky, and you use your pen and you don't really blend the strokes out that much, and just gradually fill it in by adding more and more little flicks. Now clearly with hair, the darkest area is going to be at the root. You're always going to put your darker area in there. Now I tend to start on hair with the darker colour, but you could lay down a base of this pale colour if you wanted to help you, but I'm actually going to, as I say, I like to start with the darker colours, and we're going to work just on this section here of the hair at the moment. So do one section at a time, don't try it again, don't try and do all the area, the whole hair in dark, and then the next colour, then the next colour. Work it one part at a time. Okay, so taking our RV69, I'm going to twist this around so it's easier, because if it's facing you it's easier to flick to you, or if you prefer flick away, I like flicking towards myself with the pen, and going into the root at the actual centre of the root here, and then carefully around the top here first of all because it's near the edges, and then just following the shape of the lines that are there for the hair already, flick down. Now you're more careful around the sections that you can that are near the edges, and then we're going to do the other side exactly the same. So I'm going to take this front piece first and flick down, and then we're going to, and then just a little bit more carefully as we get to this bit here. And what you want to do is at the point where it would be kind of the curviest part, the part that's going to be curved on her head, that's the part that's going to be the lightest. So you want to keep that pale. Okay, so then we're going to go down here and flick up from here. Okay, I'm going to put a little line across. That tends to help when you're flicking, because you then don't get the ink on the skin that you've just spent ages putting in place and making it look how you want it to. And don't worry about how this looks yet, because you're going to be adding a lot more. Okay, and then we're going to go to our next dark colour, which is Cardinal, and we're just going to almost go over what we did already. And it's always easier the second time round because you've got the bits already in place. And then here, I love doing hair. I know a lot of people don't like it. I love doing the hair. That's my favourite bit. I think people think it's really hard, but I think you'll find once you get used to it, it's actually really good fun to do. You can really play around with the colours. Okay, now I'm going to do currant, which is R56. And by flicking, you see you're getting kind of like, you can see the different shadings because you're not blending. So even though you're going over the same area, you're getting the different shades come in place. And just go slightly lower each time, or higher in this case, so you're just taking it into the next section. And then this side. There we go. And then the next colour is our lipstick, which is E04. And then lastly, I am actually going to use this one, and that's our pale purple, which is RV000. And that's just going to go over that section there, so that it's not really going to be white, because I think that's going to look too white otherwise. I just don't like that. And then I'm going to go back over with my RV69 and really add some dark flicks. And it is about layering with this. And then I'm going to jump one instead of the cardinal. No, I am going to do the cardinal actually, because it's a nice colour. There we go. You can see you're just building it up slowly, slowly. And then I'm going to jump straight to my E04. And then my RV00. And you're just really putting different tones in. It needs a little bit of darkness coming through, so I'm just going to try a tiny bit of this dark brown. This is cashew, just to give it some texture, because it's just blending together a little bit too much there. There you go, I think that just helps. And the same up here, we're not doing very many, just a couple of little flicks. And I've also got this gorgeous hollyhock pink, which is part of the RV range. So again, I think we could stick some of that in, just to really give her hair, again, another colour. And I think that's the key with the hair. There we go. There, I think that's looking really nice. And I think we're going to leave that alone. Now, I think that's done on that section. So we've actually ended up using another 2 colours, so 7 colours in there. And I think it just really makes a big difference, because you really get the dimension, and when you look closely you can see the different colours. But I'm going to do in here now. Now clearly that's going to be a little darker than up here, but these parts out here are coming forward, so they'll be catching the light, so we're going to do those a little bit lighter. Okay, so taking our first colour, which is the peony, we're going to just gently And I think the key with these parts down here is to still keep the flicks going, because it's very easy to over dark it if you're not careful. Well, it should be dark, but it should still have the lines. And then we're going to do the cardinal. And then I'm going to add some of this hollyhock pink, just to give it a bit of oomph. There we go. And then we want to come up from here with our peony. And then we're going to go in with the E04. And the RV. And I want to come up from here. Does that look strange? Yeah. And then I want to add some of the cashew in here at the back, just to give some of that dimension again. And then go back again with the peony just to soften the cashew down. There we go. Okay, I think that's pretty much done. It's quite difficult fiddly to do in these sections because you can't really get any flick going on, because the rest of the drawing's in the way, so, and you have to be so careful because you don't want to get it on the bits that you've already done. Okay, so now we're going to go to the other side. I'm going to get that bit out the way. Okay. And then you can go in with your blender pen and just flick on some of these edge pieces if you think they're a little bit dark, and that will just take some of the colour out, just on the ends. I think you can see that that just lifts that, so where it was a little bit not quite right, we managed to just lighten it, just to go in there. Okay, and now we want to do this part of her hair down the bottom here, which should be fun. So again, taking the peony, I'm just going to do a little line under the arm here. And this is just to protect it from being drawn on. There we go. And now we're going to get the currant. And then we're going to get the cardinal. And then I'm going to do the hollyhock, which is RV55, which is a really pretty pink. And then our very pale pink, which is the pale purple actually, RV000. And this one. And then I'm just going to go in with my blender pen to just lighten some of that a little bit. Okay, so that's that bit done. And just as I said, I use my blender pen just to do that. Now we're going to do the last little bit just down there. As you can see, there's a bit of blender pen around the edges because it got kind of a bit thicker around the edges where it had flicked, so I just flicked it back with the blender pen. And I also went through some of this back here with the blender pen just to lighten it off to where it got a bit heavy with the different colours. So that's now going to dry off and that'll be fine. So we'll let that all dry while we work on her face. But I'm thinking that hair looks really pretty. I'm really pleased with that. So we're going to do her eyebrows, her lips and her tongue. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is the tongue. Now I think that's going to be a little more fiddly to get the colours right, so I'm hoping that this is right. So I'm going to try the Eve 04 and the R56 and the R59, which are the three colours that we used, three of the colours that we used in the hair, but hopefully, because this one is quite a soft colour, there wasn't so much of that, but hopefully that'll just bring that all together a bit better, soften that down a little bit more. Yeah, I'm going to go with the currant first of all, so just in the centre here, we don't want too much of this colour, I don't think. Okay, and then I'm going to go for the Eve 04 and we're going to blend that right out. And then I'm going to get an even paler colour. Let's get this blush from Pro Markers. And that's just softening that right down. That looks really strange colour. So let's now try the pink over the top. Okay, so we need it to be a bit stronger than that. Let's go back to our 04 colour. Goodness. And then use the blush just to push some of the colour back. Okay, that looks like a dog's tongue. I think you need to let that dry a little bit and then carry on with the colour. I just added some of the baby pink on top, and that seems to have helped quite a bit, so I think we'll leave that to dry now. And I'm just going to get my blender pen, just push that colour off her lip, like so. Okay, so now I'm going to do her eyebrows, and because we had some of this cashew in her hair, I think we can use that, and then slightly lighter colour for the edge. These two, I've got E79 cashew and E74 cocoa brown. So we're going to just do a little bit of both. And I'm just doing both eyebrows at the same time, which may or may not be a good thing. And then okay. I think we probably want to lighten that very slightly, so let's just get a paler colour. So I'm just getting some barley beige, it's called, just to soften that very slightly. There we go. There, I think that looks good. So that was E11. Now I want to just take this peony and just very carefully go in the gap here where her mouth is, just to fill that in so that it's not where the lips are, it's just where the little actual mouth part is. So I've just done that. I'm happy with her eyes. So now we just need to do her lips. So I'm going to go with the hollyhock, which was in the hair, and I've got a dark, which is RV55, and then RV66 raspberry. So we're just going to take the bright one first on this occasion, and we're just going to pop that on her lips. Okay, and then taking the RV66, just going to darken the corners and under the tongue, like so. There we go. And then I'm just going to put a little bit more of the hollyhock in the middle to really give her a nice bright lipstick. There we go. Perfect. The next thing I wanted to do is take my gel pen, and I'm just going to run along the top of her little top here where there's the little beads, and I'm going to dot them with the white of the gel pen. That just enhances the lacy look. Okay, I don't know if you can see that on there, but it almost gives it a slight 3D look, which is really nice, and I think that will be quite effective. Okay, so on her top I've decided to leave that white, so I'm going to take my blue-grey one flex marker, and we're just going to add a little dimension. It's very simple, you can almost hardly see it. And that's the point, is that you can't see it in a way. It's just meant to be sort of an illusion to give it a look of it being a clean white. don't want it to look dirty, and it's just to give it shadowing. I'm going to take my blender pen because there's a little bit of colour of pink on her strap, so I just want to blend that up. In fact, actually I'm going to decide I'm going to actually take my gel pen on those straps and just colour those in, because I think that will give a better look anyway. There we go, so we've just coloured that in sort of like a scratchy colour almost on that, over the top of the grey that we did, and that just gives that a really nice effect. So the last thing we've got to do is the belt, and there's still a bit to dry as well on this blender pen, but from the colouring point of view, the last thing we've got is the belt and the necklace possibly, and her bangle that we haven't done yet. So for the belt and etc, we're going to be using my glue pen, and I'm actually going to be glittering, so because I want it to be like a gold belt. So I'm just drawing around using this glue pen. Okay, so then I'm going to take this glitter. I've got some gorgeous gold glitter, and we're just going to put that on top like so, and then while that's just setting, before I tip that off, I'm going to do the bangle. So I want the little dots on there. And then I want the actual bangle. There we go. And then again, just tipping that on. And I'm thinking that it would be quite fun to also do the necklace, so we're just gonna dot like that. Okay, and that just gives that a few minutes for that to go in the glue, and then we're gonna just tip that off. Just taking a soft makeup brush or any kind of brush, just once it's had a few moments to dry, just brush off the excess glitter like so. Okay, so here she is all finished, and I think the glitter really adds a nice element to it. Look at it sparkling, isn't it beautiful? So now I'm going to go make her into a card, and I'll show you what she looks like when she's made up. Okay, so here's the finished card, and I'll just talk you through exactly what I did. So the first thing that I did was I cut our image out that we spent all that time colouring, and I cut it out on my Spellbinders on my Grand Caliber using the Spellbinders A2 locking loops, and that's an absolutely gorgeous die, and just a really nice size. So, and as you can see, that's come out absolutely beautiful. I'll get a bit closer for you in a minute. And then I mounted that onto this dotty paper, which is from My Mind's Eye, just to make the colour pop through these loops, because I thought that would be really nice. Then I used some Hunky Dory cardstock in this lovely kind of rich reddy pink colour, and I mounted that up with a very thin border there. just to bring in this red of her hair and just really bring it together. I then took some more of the Hunky Dory red and I made it A5 size, and then I cut some of the green dots to fit that. And again, just watch where your dots are around the edges so that you don't get half one side and then a big gap the other, because I think things like that make a difference to how it finishes. And I mounted that on there. I took some green Hunky Dory cardstock, folded it in half but put the colour on the inside so that when you opened it, it just looks really, really nice. It doesn't have just boring white. And then I took a Hunky Dory sentiment both here and here, and they were white, but I coloured them with my green marker pens that were these colours here. I then put some brads, I then stuck this two layers here, the green and the red, onto the front of that card that I'd folded in half, and put the sentiment in on the inside once that had dried. And then I took my layer here and I pierced the holes and I put brads in, only in 3 corners, and they're like a little velveteen brad, and I knew that I was going to have my sentiment here. I then put these gorgeous pearl and crystal swirls in the 2 corners. This was just a little scrap that I had left over, but I thought it looked really nice at the top, just a little bit, brings it all together, and then a bigger one down the bottom here. And then I popped this matte layer with our little lady on it using my glue gel. Pop that on so it's got a little bit of lift, not a lot, just a little. Then I put my sentiment on, laying it flat to here, but obviously raised up on this side. I then found this gorgeous feather and popped that in, and my 2 pins, which I think just look really, really nice, and that was that. It was all done. Oh, and my sentiment. And I just think that looks so pretty, and although we've got the prettiness around the edge, it's not too over the top, I think, because the main feature is still Our Lady, and it's this happy birthday and then with love on the inside. And I just think that's a really fun card. I love the sentiment. I love the digi image, and I think that's really good. And if you go onto their site, there's loads of fun images like that. And now she's dried, you can see how it's all blended through beautifully. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed making this card with me and that you've enjoyed the colouring, and I'd love to hear your comments, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time. Bye for now.